Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker and your resident culture warrior. I hope you are all doing freaking awesome. All right, let's get right into it. This is one of those articles that it just gets under my skin. But you know what? Let's get right into it. I'll let you guys decide. Okay, this one's coming to us from Startifacts, and it is okay. You ready for this? New Lord of the Rings fans should not watch the extended cut. Okay, let's see what the hell they're talking about. All right, or at least they should not watch the extended cut of Peter Jackson's trilogy as their first introduction to the Lord of the Rings. And why exactly they shouldn't? Okay, first of all, I think your grammar or use of English is a little bit off there. And why exactly they shouldn't? Okay. Well, setting aside the argument that you really should start from the book, plural, and that the movies are just an extended illustration reel, which has exceptional production values for a fantasy movie, but still does not stand that well on its own. The extended cut is, well, extended, and pretty seriously so. Specifically, each installment adds close to an hour of runtime to the movies, which already approached or even exceeded 3 hours each. Its total length is over 12 hours. Quite a lot of limited series are a good deal shorter. I wonder which one they're referencing. And while all or nearly all of that time is spent on something meaningful for the story, there is a reason why movies are typically a good deal shorter. I'm going to have to correct this as we go. Even with the recent trend towards lengthier stories, rarely reaching, never mind exceeding 3 hours. Even at a time when you can make as many pauses, even at home, when you can make as many pauses as you need, most people can remain focused on the screen for only so long. Furthermore, not only the Lord of the Rings movies are lengthy, they are very dense with lore. While even the extended cut removes much lore from the books, what it includes is delivered at a far faster rate, so a new fan might find it hard to process so much information about an imaginary world while still remaining engaged with the plot. Finally, though pacing of the trilogy's theatrical version is largely fine, though there still are complaints of the Return of the King effectively having several ending sequences, the same cannot be said about the extended cut. There are scenes which deliver significant information or character development, but detract from the flow of the main story. All in all, if you want to introduce The Lord of the Rings to someone through the films, and given that a person who is not already familiar with Tolkien's works is not likely to be a huge fantasy fan, eager to dive into a new fantasy world, it is probably better to start with the original cut of the 3 films and save the extended cut for a possible rewatch. Okay. Where to begin? Well, first of all, I take exception with the fact that right out of the gate, well, first of all, the article's got some atrocious sort of grammar going on there, right? And why exactly they shouldn't, right? But at the same time, they refer to the Lord of the Rings as like a singular book. You should start from the book, right? Which, of course, we all know why that's wrong. But basically, their argument is just that you shouldn't introduce a new Lord of the Rings person or fan or somebody who's interested in it to the extended cut because, one, they're long. That's their argument, that you shouldn't introduce somebody to a 4-hour extended cut because it's long. Their second argument is because people have, the attention span of a gnat, okay? And therefore, why would somebody want to sit and watch a 4-hour movie? I don't know. Maybe the movies are fucking good and people like the stories and you can get into the story and forget that it's 3.5 or 4 hours long. That's what good movies can do. You may not have seen, I know there hasn't been many in quite some time coming out of Hollywood or the streaming services, but good movies make you forget how long you've been sitting there watching them because you're so caught up in the story and you're so invested in the characters and what's going on that you're not looking at your watch saying, it's already been 2 hours and 20 minutes. I wonder when this is going to end, you know? But then their third argument is because it's a lot of information. And that's the one that I take the biggest exception with. Okay, so what you're telling me is that somebody says, hey, I'm interested in this Lord of the Rings thing. I've been seeing a lot of talk about it online, right? Especially this one guy who's got this Cutter One site, and he's always talking and dropping F-bombs and stuff like that because he thinks Amazon sucks, right? So I wanted to see what this guy's bitching about. So show me what this Lord of the Rings thing is all about. So according to who's the author of this article? This is Aaron Gimenez. Again, we've done videos on Aaron's videos. According to Aaron, it's just a whole lot of stuff. Okay, and you got to spoon feed it to your person who may be trying to get into Tolkien. Okay, completely doesn't have that argument when it comes to, I don't know, the books, as in plural. Aaron, there's more than one. Okay? I don't know how to break this to you, but there's more than one. Even if you got The Lord of the Rings as one physical book, it's technically 3 books. Okay? But that aside, just factoring in the Silmarillion and the Hobbit, right? Let's just say you wanted to start them off correct. You're still looking at more than one book. It's books. Okay? But apparently none of that is too much information. But to expect somebody to see what would amount to the abridged version, even the extended films are the abridged version of the Lord of the Rings story. It's too much information for somebody to handle. So therefore, you shouldn't do it. And this is, ironically enough, you don't see these arguments being made for the Rings of Pewter. Right? I'm sure Aaron has no problem if somebody says, hey, I'm going to start at the Rings of Pewter and then work my way to eventually the Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit, then the Lord of the Rings, right? I guarantee you Mr. Gimenez would not have a problem with that, right? Even though, that's spread out over 8 hours, to basically just show you that, Guy Ladriel can take a Cheeto bukkake to the face from a volcano, and that, she's really stupid. I mean, there's no other way of saying it, right? Not to mention an insufferable bitch, but that goes without saying. But, and I just, this whole thing of like, oh, don't avoid showing these to your friends until they're ready for it. It's like, come on, are you serious? Like, this is ridiculous. And then he sort of takes like the typical, like, swipes at it. The theatrical version is largely fine, though there's still complaints that it has, several ending sequences. You know what I mean? And while even the extended cut removes much lore from the books, what it includes is delivered at a far faster rate. So a new fan might find it hard to process so much information about an imaginary world. Okay, so you're telling me that the same people who could process all the Marvel movies, all the Star Wars movies, right, and the shows and everything on Disney Plus, right? Somebody who can process all of that is going to have a hard time watching the 3 extended cuts of the Lord of the Rings trilogy from Peter Jackson. Get out of here with that nonsense, Aaron. Come on, you should know better than that. Don't insult our intelligence. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think that if you had somebody, let's say a friend, a relative, or whatever, said, I was never into this Lord of the Rings thing, but I've been hearing a lot about it, and I want to get into it, and I know that you're into it, so be my guide, be my Sherpa, and guide me into Middle Earth, right? Would you be okay having them sit down with you on, let's say, a Saturday and spending all day doing like, an extended cut trilogy marathon, right? Would you be okay with that? Do you think they could handle that? Do you think the people you surround yourself with could handle that? Do you think your average Lord of the Rings fan can process that much information that quickly? Or do you think that, they're blithering idiots and, you would have to sit there and go, first you must read the book? Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you like the video, and if you want to share the video, by all means, go ahead and do so. It gets it out there. It gets it seen by more people. It can be a little fast at times. I know the pacing, but, show them the regular videos, not the extended cut videos, because, we don't want to overload people. Right, Aaron? But if you feel like sharing it, by all means do so. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get us seen. If you have not subscribed and have not joined the army of beautiful badasses, I would hope that you would consider today giving the channel your subscription. It will help us out a lot with our future plans, and you will now be one of the elite few who are part of the army of beautiful badasses. And if you have subscribed, thank you as always for being part of this and being on this journey and holding the line as we defend the professor and his works from the disgusting, craptacular Amazon and its shills and its minions. All right, guys, I will talk to you again. Remember to be good, be awesome, be safe, but most importantly, stay more dorkish. Peace.